When I started riding a motorcycle, no one really told me about what happens when you get a flat tire. I wanted to be thorough, so I did a little bit of research about how to fix a flat, but I'd already fixed a flat car tire, and the videos that I saw said it was the same with a motorcycle tire. It turns out that it's not the same, and motorcycle tires cannot be fixed when they go flat or they get a hole in them. So if you get a flat in the car, you can just plug it, but that's not the case with a motorcycle. I did not think that was a big deal, but after getting 2 flat tires in 6 months, I decided that I was tired of losing money. So I decided to look up some products and see if there was anything real that would actually work for fixing one. I had 3 different options for fixing a flat. One of those ridiculous liquid sealants that I saw in some YouTube videos, plugging a tire, or somehow trying to use that slime stuff for fixing the tire. I tried using the slime on my first flat tire. It did not work. I tried plugging that tire and it worked, but it did not seem that reliable, so I got it changed. After that, I started seriously thinking about those YouTube videos. I decided that I needed to find out if that stuff really worked. So I did a little bit of looking around. Turned out that all the stuff was either the same as the slime or it was something that I couldn't get in my country. I watched the video of some British guy fixing his tire, but the stuff he had, I couldn't buy it in America. So that left one option. I looked at a lot of reviews for this. I couldn't find very many, but the ones that I saw were positive and they said that it was real stuff. So there wasn't much in terms of the good stuff, but in terms of the bad, I just read a lot of people saying that they don't think it'll work. No one actually said we tried it and it doesn't work. So at this point, I just gotten 2 flat tires, so I decided to order it and personally find out. I really did not want to test it myself, but that Ryan Fortnine guy who does the stupid shooting a helmet with an airsoft gun thing, he decided that it wasn't worth his time to figure it out. He should have been doing the testing, but he was, I guess he was doing something more important. So the steps were simple. Look it up on Amazon, buy some, wait for it to get here, put it in your tire. After doing that, I found out that it is actually as good as they say it is. You can get a nail in your tire or drill a hole in your tire and it will seal the hole. Specifically, I did 3 phases of testing. I decided that I needed to find out what it felt like to ride a bike with the stuff in your tires, then obviously check and see if it will lose air. After that, I just had to wait and see how it worked out over time. I was fully willing to believe that someone could make a tire sealant that would last for a few days and you could put a bunch of holes in it, but I don't care about that. I wanted to find out if you could put a hole in your tire and keep riding on that same tire for thousands of miles. So in phase 1, I put this stuff in my tire. I noticed that the handling was very bad, but they do warn you about that. In the instructions, they say that you need to ride for a few miles to let it settle in your tire, but they don't give you any numbers. That's a mistake because you need at least 50 highway miles for it to properly settle in your tire. So if you want to install it in your tire, just follow the instructions and remember that right before you start riding, your bike is going to handle very badly. You'll have a very difficult time just turning the handlebars and making a slow turn. That will go away after about 2 minutes, and after 50 miles, it'll not only handle like it used to, it will also have fully spread out in your tire and be ready to protect your tire from nails. So after that, I'd already put it in my tires and tested the handling and everything was fine, so I needed to move to the next step and actually see if it would seal the hole. So I got a drill, just like they did in some of those videos, and I just put a hole in it. I noticed that as soon as I drilled it, it had lose some air because I only put about 20 miles on it and I should have done about 50, so I lost air immediately. And after I did that, I started riding and it did seal the hole. About 15 minutes later, I checked it again, wasn't losing any air. After that, I just pumped it back up, kept riding around, and it didn't lose any more air. So phase one was successful. Installed it, punctured it, everything worked. But I was never really worried about that because I wanted to know about long term. So then I moved on to phase two. I read on the website that water can mess with the sealant, and I wasn't really sure if that was true or if it was something they put on there for liability. I personally didn't believe it because I don't think they would ever make a tire sealant that would dissolve on contact with water, because you can never predict when there would be water. You might wash your bike, it might rain. If a little bit of water can mess it up, that would ruin the entire product. So I, of course, ended up testing it when it rained, because it always rains, and nothing happened. I completely forgot about that, but I went through a ton of water and my tire was totally fine. The second part of phase two was checking for air loss, and for the most part, everything was pretty good. On that first day that I got it, I put 150 miles on it, and after doing the drill test, there was no problem. The next day, I didn't do any riding, and when I got on it on the third day, there was no problem. Put some more miles on it. Put some more miles on it on day 4 the next day. And then on day 5, I did some riding in the morning, but I did not come back to my bike for longer than usual, and my tire had gone flat. So I had to go to a gas station and then fill it up. The next day, I expected it to go flat again, but nothing happened. Since then, I've put a total of over 1,000 miles on it, and it has not gone flat again since that one time. I think the cause of this was the orientation of the tire. I think I might have parked my bike so that the puncture was towards the ground, and gravity keeps pulling the sealant towards the ground, so the sealant will go towards the puncture. And that one day, I think I parked it so the puncture was up, so it got pulled away from it. And then I left it for too long, and then it didn't get to circulate, which shows that this is a very good product for people who do a lot of commuting because the stuff will constantly be circulated and it'll constantly be going back over the puncture. So, after seeing the success with the rear tire, I decided to do the long term test on the front, and it was a complete failure. So, even after one full week of riding around and spreading the sealant in the tire, I drilled a hole in it and it immediately lost air and kept losing air. I had to fight with it over a few days, but I'd pump it up completely, and less than 5 minutes later, it would have lost all the air. I ended up riding around on it for a few days, but there was nothing I could do. The rear tire worked pretty well, but the front tire was a total disaster. So that showed that my initial theory was correct, and if you do something to the tire immediately after putting in the sealant, it'll probably be fine, but after just as little as a week, this stuff doesn't work so well. So ultimately, phase 2 was good, but it showed that the sealant isn't anywhere near as ridiculously capable as they make it seem in some of those videos. So the last part of the testing is phase 3, and that's just going to be a question of how long I can make the tire last. I'm looking for maybe 12,000 miles, so I just have to wait and see what happens. Ultimately, the product is good. It's not as great as it's been said to be, but that's fine because the product is pretty great as it is, especially in the motorcycle world where there is no other option aside from plugging a tire, and that doesn't really work that well. After testing the product and seeing what it's actually like, my verdict is that it's a great product and everyone should buy some. I don't know another way to fix a flat tire, and I don't know a way to avoid nails, so this is my only option, and I think it's a pretty good one. It seems like there are a bit of problems with the installation, but those can be worked around and it'll ultimately be pretty good for you. I can't think of too many problems with it. I noticed that when I was doing full turns and trying to do circles in a parking lot, the handlebars wanted to kind of immediately turn all the way to the left or to the right because since the tire is heavier, it'll just fall over a lot quicker. So that's something you have to get used to. And since the tires are heavier, it's more difficult to push the bike around. But aside from that, I did not see any problems with it. So I liked it. I'm going to buy some more. It's not as great as it was supposed to be, but it's still pretty great. And since it's only $40 for both of my tires, that's a price point I'm okay with.